Hello there, all true believers of the Marvel Universe. It is I, Cole Beekner. I have returned for season 2. I wanted to do a Stanley impression, but then I just thought, nah. So, what I wanted to do for season 2 is that I want the main antagonist to be watching all this take place. Every last scene. So, I decided for season 2, Kang the Conqueror. Now, for those who are only aware of him from the movies, and I'm assuming a lot of my viewers are probably more aware of him in the movies, Kang the Conqueror is an asshole who conquered the entire universe in the far future, then decided to go back in time to conquer the whole universe all over again, just for the hell of it. Now, to be fair, there is more to his character than that. He actually is married to an alien princess named Ravonna, and he actually does love and care for her. There are actually some timelines where he is actually a good guy. There's Immortus, a version of him that actually went on a more peacekeeping, time-correcting story in one of his timelines. And then there's a teenage version of him that saw all the horrors he could do in the future and became that timeline's version of Iron Man called Iron Lad. And then there's versions like the Kang we're going to meet now where he's just a giant egotistical dickhead, but still having his loving touch with Ravonna. So yes, Kang will be the final antagonist. I don't have much, but it will be a major invasion. Now, last time, during season 1, Iron Man, Ant-Man, and the Wasp all decided to take a break from the Avengers. Captain America was the only one left around, and Thor was off somewhere else. And the Hulk was deciding to have more intelligence and be a dick. That is all. So let's get all the returning characters out of the way. Iron Man and Captain America I'm going to save for last because they actually have a really impressive arc in of itself. So here's what I was going to do. For Ant-Man and the Wasp, I want them to rejoin the Avengers in at least near the quarter mark. Because Ant-Man, during his experiments, had actually unintentionally grew himself back to his giant man form, but then he can't actually shrink back down to normal size, becoming the hero Goliath in the process, because that's all he can do. Which then also is driving him a bit more loonier. Now, Jan, or the Wasp, is essentially the only person that knows this, especially during the halfway point, because I want the Goliath thing to happen as a result of it, but not come to the Avengers till the quarter mark, that when he returns back to smaller size, he actually has a more violent, psychotic, less of his usual self personality when he becomes the hero Yellow Jacket. Which, yes, Jan knows it's not exactly who Hank is and does encourage him to be more like himself, but she also is into battles and being a hero and stuff, so she can't really unintentionally complain when she and Hank have something to work with. Hell, I actually want to see by near the end of the season for the two to get married. And no, I will not be adapting the part of the comic where during Yellow Jacket's whole insanity spiel, he hit wasps personally. Just no. And I'm also, sorry for the scene change, I'm watching some of my mom's pets while she's out for dinner tonight. Probably not going to be back by the time I upload this, so hey, all's well that ends well, right? So, okay. That's what I wanted to do with those two. And now I want to bring back Thor. Now, Thor, during the first half of the series, is busy is with Scourge and basically making sure that everyone in the Nine Realms is basically being who they are. That was one of the dogs. She's coming down and it startled me. Oh man. How are you doing? Good. Yes. I see you too. I see you. Go. 1 second, guys. Okay, I just let the dogs outside. So let's keep going. So during their little misadventures, they run into the infamous antagonist, Ulik the Rock Troll, who him and his entire people have essentially been imprisoned with little access to a Bifrost, the infamous portals between all the 9 realms. And now since they're trapped, they're taking their revenge on Thor and Scourge, which during those events, he actually unleashes Mangog. Mangog was actually created from the Venetians, or however you pronounce them. Basically mystical versions of the Asgardians, who I believe Thor's mother from the mythologies comes from, right? Probably not, but I could be wrong. Essentially, Odin, during his war-bound days, apparently killed a bunch of them and had their souls confused into this weird monstrosity of nature who just wants to destroy all the Asgardians by this point. And yeah, that's really what the whole arc is going. Sorry. And this one setting is complicated. So, that's would be essentially the first half. Thor and Scourge leave on their merry way. Scourge finally apologizing to Thor for everything that happened in season 1. And now the two have made up. But on Thor's return home, he's actually left in deep space, since this is still technically like a space version, I guess. Essentially, he would be traveling with Beta Ray Bill, essentially an alien horse from a race of people who believe in warriors, battles, conflict, honor, all that kind of stuff, who have unfortunately been attacked by those versions of the Rock Troll. I want Mangog to essentially have more staying power, because his attack would eventually nearly destroy the Bifrost, allowing a bunch of Surturs, Jotunheim, ice giants to eventually arrive and try to destroy Beta Ray Bill's people. So Thor creates a replica of his hammer called Stormbreaker from blacksmiths in one of the 9 realms, gives it to Beta Ray Bill to become their version of Thor, and they both travel around helping the Betas discover where his people are going to stay, because, well, his planet is absolutely destroyed now, and now they're basically lost into the depths of space. Thor helps them get to a new planet before returning to Earth to help them deal with the eventual Kang invasion. Yeah, that's my plan. I know this is very convoluted, but I feel like I should have at least explained those a bit more. For the Hulk, I want Joe Fixit to be a bit of a mafia. And for those who are unaware, Joe Fixit is like a gray version of the Hulk who basically runs like his own mafioso. He's an ass. He's just a dick. That's really all you can do to describe the guy. He's just a giant dick. But over time, he's kind of like the representation of the Hulk, anger. Let me put this into context. Hulk was created by Banner due to his own trauma, due to his father's alcoholic behaviors. The Hulk has been hounded time and time again by the military and other heroes and villains alike, even some that were based entirely on him, has now created Joe Fixit as a result. Now, I know in the comics, Joe was essentially existed before the Hulk, but I digress. So when the Hulk and Banner finally work together by the halfway point, they get rid of Joe, and actually all 3 of them sort of like combine into a single form, which is how we get Professor Hulk like in the comics. He will basically be that version of Hulk during the rest of the events. living his normal life, but Banner doesn't seek to destroy the Hulk anymore. He's accepted that that's a part of his life now, and that the Hulk is essentially his own person. Hell, I don't actually want Banner to take possession of the Hulk's body. I just want the Hulk to have Banner's level of intelligence and fix its version of speech. That is until the leader erupts a Gamma Bomb near the end of the series, forcing the government to decide, hey, let's blast the Hulk off into space! Because in Season 3, I want to adapt World War Hulk. So, let's move on from that. Okay. I have other ideas I want to do with the other characters. So, let's get with Iron Man and Captain America's, because they're very similar. Iron Man has essentially had his armor stolen, at least their design-wise, stolen by the Ghost. He's essentially this tech thief. He travels he gets in and out of vision, of our physical vision, basically becoming invisible, but can also phase through objects and such, and survive mega heating temperatures. Sorry, I'm getting stuffy. There. Essentially, the Ghost leaked all that technology all over the entire internet, and now entire supervillains are just taking this thing. It's like, I want to rip off Iron Man. I want to rip off Iron Man. Blah, 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 blah. But the main antagonist for this would be AIM, the Advanced Idea Mechanics. Essentially scientific dickheads who think our intelligence will eventually allow us to take over the world. And they dress up like beehives. So AIM itself is motivating more of the armored wars. Now, their scientist supreme, MODOK, for those also only aware of the comics, he was just a regular guy. He was in love with this great girl, but then his rival was actually a member of AIM and was just a humongous egotistical prick. So he then tortured who eventually would become MODOK into becoming MODOK now, breaking his mentality and warping his mind to becoming a weapon for AIM, who then eventually kills the guy and takes over AIM. Oh yeah, and his face does look like, his body is sort of like that, where if it's only his head is ginormous, but his face is sort of scrunching, like its body, like it's trying to shrink in, but it really isn't, and looks so hideous. Just look up a regular comic picture of MODOK, and it's essentially would be like that. Now, for the next section, I want to include the infamous antagonist of Hydra. Hydra just being made up of former Nazis and collaborating with neo-Nazis now in order to team up and conquer the world. We have Baron Wolfgang Strucker, an old Nazi with an entire metallic glove that allows him that every time he touches you, he slowly drains your life force at your youth, giving him more age as a result of it. There's Madame Hydra, who is essentially the woman's secretary / special agent of Hydra. Crossbones, who used to be a mercenary but decided to become a full-fledged Hydra agent to essentially get revenge, not just on Captain America, but on a lot of heroes. And that's just the start. I will remember a few of them. I mean, there's a sorcerer member of Hydra. I just don't remember his name. Someone can correct me on that in the comments. Yeah. So, Hydra is essentially the main antagonist. Now, this is bringing up scars for Cap. The main reason is that when he comes in contact with Artem Zola, which, if you know him from the movies, he's essentially transferred his brains into a computer. But this computer, like the comics, essentially created a walking mechanical body with a TV screen on his stomach to show his face, but with a camera for the equivalent of a head. Yeah, try and understand that logic. Essentially, all these older Nazis like Strucker and Zola are reopening old wounds for Cap. He only accepted the job of the Avengers and helping the world because that's really all he ever knew. But his training, his teaching, and all that fun shit essentially is what made the Avengers more like a team than just a random collaboration. And he really did work on it, but he keeps replaying the war he left behind over and over, especially to the last mission where he saw Bucky die, which, unlike the movies, is more or less connected to a rocket in which he gets trapped on because of the Red Skull, which I do not have any plans for right now. I want to save him for later. And then he kind of sacrifices himself getting Cap off the rocket while it explodes. So yeah, Bucky's just dead. I don't want to do any stories with him as the Winter Soldier because, well, people kind of expect that now. So yeah, that's really all I want to do. If this was a Captain America series, then maybe. So, yeah, the reason why I want Iron Man and Cap's whole story arcs to come together is that I want them to eventually discover that AIM and Hydra are fighting over the Cosmic Cube, which was served as the direct inspiration for the Tesseract of the movies. Now, for those who don't know, the Cosmic Cube, to whoever holds it, could basically have any wish they want granted in a millisecond. The problem is that depending on the wish, it could potentially destroy the whole universe. So yeah, just with Deus Ex Machina / a genie combined. So yeah, that's really all I want to do. I essentially want, but for the new characters, I want to include in the infamous Captain America's Kooky Quartet. Essentially, all four of these guys are Cap's miniature Justice League Avengers. I can understand. First, let's get the obvious one out of the way. Quicksilver has way too much story arcs revolving around Magneto. I can see why they cut him out from the movies that killed him, because there's really barely anything to work with here. So why not just have his whole arc be revolved around the fact that he doesn't feel comfortable talking about the fact that he was a mutant? Not only that, but related to one of the most graphic and terrorist mutants, at least by the governments around the world, have declared. I don't really have much planned for him after this season. So yeah, I just want him to build up that courage and trust and friendship to eventually talk to them about it. That's where my start will be. The Scarlet Witch, on the other hand, I just want her to be a mutant that actually could affect, like, hexes. Basically create magical equivalents of bad luck and alter probabilities and math. Just basically create more bad shit to whoever she hits them with. It is such a interesting idea from the series. Yes, I do want them to appear in X-Men Season 1 if I ever get around to making that, at least during the first half, so that way I can explain what the hell they're doing here in the second season. But I want Wanda to not exactly have control over her powers. So then she goes to the sorceress Agatha Harkness, who helps her train in actually getting much better control over her powers. Now, just to clarify, when I first envisioned an arc for Wanda in Season 2, I originally wanted it to spew on to a Doctor Strange miniseries. I don't know if I actually want to make that, since Strange doesn't actually join up with the Avengers at some point. I mean, I would like to do it in a Doctor Strange series, if any of you would like to comment down below, along with an X-Men. I do have an idea, but that's about all I really want to say about in regards to that before anyone asks. And finally, there's Hawkeye. In Season 1, I wanted Hawkeye to be framed as a criminal, even though he actually, as revealed in Season 2, was a criminal. Or at least he was a part of a criminals. Yes, you're going to be seeing that a lot. Hold on, I'm going to blow my nose. Okay, got that out of the way. So, what I want to do now for Hawkeye, as I will explain more from his origins in the comics, he was an orphan and was raised by the Circus of Crime. Well, they weren't exactly called the Circus of Crime, but it was essentially that. Apparently, their origins kind of date back to like the Wild West, where their original people who founded the circus eventually just did all those acts to turn the town into a big top in order to eventually rob everyone with laying out the lands afterwards, and once they were done, rob the people and leave. This is essentially what's a modern take of that with new superpower people. I don't have exact members in mind right now, but go watch this series. Go figure more stuff out about them if you want. Anyway, Hawkeye got sick of it. He left, use his archery talents he achieved from the circus to get a performance. He got failed and got upstaged by people shouting him Iron Man. Then his egotistical ass decided to become a hero to try to stop this, and well, he kind of worked, but then he was framed as a criminal, and then Iron Man got into a few fights with Iron Man, actually nearly beating Iron Man. Yeah, take that, you Arbor Titan. Anyway, Hawkeye is one of those characters that actually does show he wants to change. He just has this big inferiority complex. I mean, do you really blame the guy? He's working with two mutants, one that controls magic and the other has super speed, a super soldier that's decades old, people that can grow and shrink at will, a literal god, and a guy who he nearly kicked his ass, but that was just due to him, but knowing him, he probably would have upgraded his armor. And he's just a guy with a bow and arrow. It's really what holds him back. But I want to start doing more changes with him, and he's going to be one of my characters I want to do more with, and you would want to see more of his growth throughout the series. This is just a major step in the right direction for him when he eventually goes on a mission to take down the Circus of Crime, when he runs into his old master, the Swordsman, who I also want to do a brief redemption arc to, that he is actually proud for Clint for actually leaving the circus and doing this thing he really wished he had the guts to do beforehand, showing that he did care, and there was some good positive influence. I do want to do more with Swordsman later, but I'm not exactly clear what I want. And yeah, that's really all I want to do with Season 2. Yeah. Bye, everyone. Like, comment, subscribe, you know, the whole YouTube drill. Make sure if you want to comment down below what you would do with an Avengers Season 2, following my guidelines, what exactly you would want to do. Go ahead and do whatever. I don't care. And yeah, that's all I want to say. I'm going to do the impression anyway. Thank you for everything. True believers, Excelsior! God, that was terrible.